Suspend your disbelief, your rational, analytic mind, just for a minute, just for the length of this podcast. What if all I am about to tell you is the truth? What if the information you will be provided is from a divine source? Just for this time, I am your Axis Mundi. Consider this podcast your channel, your second opinion. When I do a reading, something larger than myself is working through me. So ask what you wish. This is your channel, your doorway to the divine. Welcome to JohnsTarot. I'm John. Welcome to you from wherever in the world you may be. Welcome to you from Germany.
Achtung, ich rufe noch einmal Stalingrad.
Hier ist Stalingrad. Hier ist die Front an der Wolga.
Welcome to you from the United Kingdom.
You are talking to a man who has laughed in the face of death, sneered at doom, and chuckled at catastrophe.
Welcome to you from British Columbia, Canada.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Welcome to you from Quebec, Canada.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Welcome to you from Japan.
Try to relax. This will feel a little weird.
Welcome to you from Florida.
How about I give you the finger and you give me my phone call?
Yeah. And how about welcome to you from Illinois?
This is all your fault, you.
Welcome to you from Alabama.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
And welcome to you from California.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to you from wherever in the world you may be listening to this podcast. And thank you for listening to this podcast. A podcast that is I'm building it. It is still coming to life. I have the webpage up. I'm webpage is doing well. I'm happy about that. I'm looking about doing a store. And I don't know how I'm going to do that store. I might just open it up on Facebook. It looks like that might be my easiest way to do it. So I have a Facebook page. It's at JohnsTarot, but that's more like two words, JohnsTarot. I will work on putting up a link to to my podcast, to my Facebook page. Oh, it's not a big deal. Just more of the same that you hear here. And when you're here. And what else is going on? Last week, I talked a little bit with a guest named Andy Grant. I thought Andy was very appropriate for the Christmas holiday season with a very difficult topic, and that topic was suicide. And Andy did a great job, though, and it was important. And I hope you all had a great and wonderful Christmas day. We had a nice Christmas day here with the family and the mother-in-law and just the usual kind of family stuff like that. It was really very nice, and I hope you had a very nice holiday wherever you're at. Today's podcast, if you are looking at this on my YouTube page or any of the video playbacks, you see I have my UFO background up. So today is going to be, I have an interview with a UFO guest. He is a abductee, and let me do his intro. His name is Fred Zewe. Fred Zewe is a Nebraska MUFON Assistant State Director since 2020, attending MUFON meetings in the 1990s and became a field investigator in 2010. I thought that was very interesting, and that comes up in our interview. He graduated from Iowa State University in 1976 with a Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education. He taught 5th and 6th math in Ogden, Iowa. He worked for 3 years for the railroad, C and NW Railroad, and then graduated from Iowa Western in 1982 with the AAS in Electronic Technology. Fred then started work in 1983 for a government defense contractor as a field engineer for E-Systems, now known as L3 Harris, in working alongside the United States Air Force RC-135 Rivet Joint Program for 37 years. Fred spent years in his spiritual studies and meditations, with Siddha Yoga having his first Kundalini experience in Tokyo, 1985, and visiting gurus Sai Baba and Garumi in India, 1987. He then started having numerous dreams in his awakenings of his ET encounters, though having had a missing time screen memory experience in 1974 and his first UFO sighting with an internal message in 1978. He continued in his spiritual studies with the Theosophy, NLP, hypnosis, and Oneness University meditations. He enjoys the insights of quantum reality, DMT, OBE, NDEs, and other altered states of consciousness. Fred is very excited to be a member of MUFON ERT team in supporting others who have had ET encounters. So Fred was very nice, and I'm going to move right into his interview. Let's move right into Fred's interview with MUFON, the MUFON director of Nebraska. After my interview with Fred, he sent me some clips and stuff which I'm still catching up on. And man, they have had some stuff going on there in Nebraska. Kind of the typical stuff, law enforcement seeing UFOs and chasing it down and having no explanation for it. So let's move over to the interview with Fred Zewe. Hi, welcome to John's Tarot. Today, as a guest, we have Fred Zewe. Fred is Assistant State Director of the MUFON organization. He is a student of Siddha Yoga, having had his first Kundalini awakening in 1985, and he studied under various gurus, including Sai Baba and Guru Yama. I can't know if I pronounced that correctly. And then he started having his numerous dreams of ET encounters after, I think, 1987, after studying under the various Buddhas. Hi, Fred. Welcome to John's Tarot.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, we just got done talking, and I'm hyped up, man.
Yeah. Fred and I have been chatting this week, and I've been really enjoying our chats. Fred, why don't you tell me how your ET encounters, how did that manifest in your life? How did that come out? Tell me your story.
It's a slow transition, you know. It all came from early on when I was in my early 20s, and then, I was in college, and I had an event where it was a missing time and one of a screen memory. A screen memory is like a projection that I'm thinking like a movie. I was driving down the road on this gravel road. I felt a sense of being lost. I had an hour and a half to drive from Rhinebeck, Iowa to Ames, Iowa, back home with my roommate, Tom, you know, and I'm driving. I feel this sense of loss. You know, I thought I knew the roads, but I felt lost. So I'm driving, and I drove down this road, and of course, this road's unknown. I got on this gravel road knowing that there's going to be a paved county road further up ahead. But of course, being silly me, you know, youngster, I'm driving down this gravel road like crazy. And all of a sudden I see this T intersection sign, and I'm like 50 feet from it. And I'm going to crash right into the sign, into this ditch, this T intersection right there. Slammed on the brakes. I felt this energy come over the car, and the car did a perfect 90-degree slide to the right. And I looked at Tom, and then all of a sudden we saw two trees had fallen across the road parallel. Huge, big trees. Two, not one, but two trees parallel across the road. And we slid up to it, and I'm within a foot of the tree. I can't even open my doors. That's how close I'm to the tree. And I was looking at my Tom and say, Tom, did you see that T intersection sign? He says, no, I'm glad you did. You know, so evidently he knew that I thought maybe the divine intervention, you know, that, you know, here we are driving in the middle of the night, you know, it's what, you know, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, going back from a Rocky Mountain oyster feed, you know, and a street dance in Rhinebeck, you know, and I'm like, holy crap, you know, these trees, I mean, the trees are thick, you know, and they were even to my car. I mean, that's how thick they are. Two trees, but there's no wind. There was nothing that would propagate the falling of the trees. Anyway, I get back to Ames, and when I got back to Ames, we were walking up to the fraternity house, and I heard the birds chirping. Well, that kind of indicated that sometime around 4:30, 5 o'clock, you know, when birds chirp. Well, I should have got home around 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, with an hour and a half drive home, you know, if we left at 12:30. So there's missing time there where, you do the math, there's 2 hours of missing time. Well, it ended up over time that the two trees, that was another projection by the ETs. The trees was the craft. And so there's the missing time. I was taking on the craft. I have no memory of that right now, but that was the start of that. So I had I just thought maybe divine intervention on that. But then 3 years later, that was 1974, and in 1978, I was working on the railroad, the Chicago North Railroad, and I was in Logan, Iowa, and I'm working on this anchor machine. It was kind of a lull of work. And all of a sudden, this energy comes over the top of me, and I'm like going, I'm in an euphoric state of awareness. Told myself I haven't done drugs like this before. This is a super, super high state. And I get this impression, this empathic feeling to look up, and I looked up, and there's this 30, 40-foot saucer kind of embedded into this cloud up above me. And I'm looking up at it, and I'm going, well, it's a saucer. What am I going to do? And then I looked around, and again, I got this second impression that came down to me. He says, we just want to let you know that we are here. I'm like, whoa, and that's when it kind of hit me. Like, we want to let you know that we're here. And then the energy's dissipated, and I'm looking around, and I look back up, and the saucer's gone. So I was put in an altered state of consciousness, a higher state of consciousness, to see the crap. And I'm sure nobody else saw the crap except for me, since I entered that higher state of consciousness. So I got the message there. So it kind of pointed back to my other experience of missing time, that I've been being taken, and so forth. And then it went on to more synchronistic aspects of my life. And, I got into meditation, and I had more dreams, and I had dreams where I was shown I was being taken up in a blue vortex. And then that actually physically happened, about half a dozen times, where I would fall asleep, and the next thing I know, I'm levitating over my bed, and this blue vortex is spinning in my bed, and I could go over. The very first time I went over and put my arm through the wall, and I could feel the molecules, and I could put my arm through the window, and then I got pulled back, and eventually I get abducted, so to speak, up through the ceiling. I'd lose consciousness, and I'd return back to my bed either that morning or wake up, right after the experience, to a point where even further on, where I had a very conscious experience, where one of my wife and I had, experiences of the aliens coming out. And this is kind of like an introductory knock, knock, knock at the door, which it literally was almost. My wife and I just got done watching TV. We jumped into bed. We was chit-chatting, talking. Next thing I knew, the front door opened of my house, and I like, what? And then we heard these footsteps coming up the stairs. And I'm like, I leaned over to my wife and said, "Do you hear that?" She goes, "Yes." And all of a sudden the hallway lit up in light. And all of a sudden there was about 5 seconds later, there was a flash, which to me was the portal opened up, and the three grays came walking in. And as soon as that flash hit, I went into paralysis. And that's one of the deep triggers or markers that you've been abducted or you're having experiences when you go into sleep paralysis. As soon as I saw the grays coming in, there was like three grays walking through my doorway into the bedroom. Again, as soon as the flash happened, I went to paralysis, and I lose consciousness, and then I wake up next morning.
Wow. Did one thing I've always wondered, did you ever figure out why the grays are abducting people? You're not the first one to have this story.
There's hundreds and thousands of people, if not millions of people, being abducted by the Greys. And again, the Greys is almost a cyborg, which are hired by other races of beings. They're almost like your little robot, and they're programmed and controlled, and they just come in and do it. And the one time one of my last experiences, I was very conscious. It was I was in Saudi Arabia actually, and I'm kind of falling asleep, and I close my eyes. I see one gray in my mind, one after another, like bam, 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 bam. I'm like, okay, guys, if you're going to come take me again, I want to go conscious this time. I just don't want to get pulled out and go up through the ceiling and lose consciousness. Sure enough, just about ready to fall asleep, bam, I wake up and there's three grays standing beside me, and they go, You're being very brave. It's all telepathic. You're being very brave, but there's undue circumstances. We got to go. I said, we ain't going anywhere because I finally get to see you guys. We can interrelate, talk a little bit, do the old bonding thing, But no, they were like, they're all business. They're just all business. I said, like, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? And I wanted to know everything. And they just said the same thing, identically the same thing. You're being very brave and under new circumstances. We got to go. And I'm going, what's your name? And that's when the guy reached over, grabbed my wrist, yanked me out of the bed. And as I was being yanked out, I looked down at the third guy. I said, what's your name? He said, Cirrus. Well, after a while, I found out Cirrus is really not his name, but I think that was the star system. They were from the star system of Cirrus. As I was being moved across the floor of the room, in the hotel room there was a portal in the wall, and these lights, these oranges and yellow bright lights were coming through with sacred geometry. And I went through the portal, lost consciousness, and then I woke up and I looked at my watch, and 45 minutes had transpired. So that was one of my very last highly conscious experiences with the grace.
Wow, we call that a portal because we don't have another word for it. This is some serious advanced technology.
Well, again, that's that, and then a lot of too. I mean, as I've come to meditate, you can create portals within yourself. With the DMT is a substance by which kind of puts you down into that theta state. Robert Monroe talks about hemisync, and he would always, whenever he was able to actually create his own out-of-body experience, he put the EKG machines, brains, things around his head, and right around when he hit 8 hertz, well, you got the 7.83 hertz, which is the Schumann resonance. This is everything's frequency oriented, and at 7.83 hertz, you have rapid eye movement. That's why you have these lucid dreams, and that opens the portal. This is your inner portal, or a vortex, an inner portal that you can leave the physical body. And if you're conscious during any times of lucidity, during any lucid dreams, and if you say, "Oh, I'm just dreaming," then you can just go, "I want to go do this," and you just kind of like, you can twist your shoulder out, or just move or twist. You can twist right out of body, and then you go into the quantum. And the quantum realm is the spiritual realm of consciousness. It's just like an interface. It's just like, I just think it's another realm. It's another, dimensional frequency range. And you can then, everything is driven by consciousness and what you think, and so if you want to go to Hawaii, you can go to Hawaii. If you want to go to Mars, you can go to Mars. And it's instantaneous. It's because in the quantum, what like I talked about, Dr. Teresa Bullard, she is the quantum physicist and the Newtonian physicist. She says quantum is participatory, meaning it's consciously aware, just like the ETs, and sometimes they know what you're doing and things of that nature. So you're dealing with consciousness. And so whatever you think becomes, and say, I want to go to the Mars or to the moon, it's instantaneous. And there's that, what we call entanglement. Everything's entangled within this matrix of the quantum. And wrap it all up really quickly, that's very scientifically oriented, and the quantum of this, people just have to understand this reality that the quantum is real. It's participatory, and it communicates. And the way it communicates to you is through your dreams, through your intuitions, and it's that inter heart and mind connection, and you access it at that 7.83 hertz at the theta state level. Well, that's a lot to wrap around your head, man.
Yeah, I'll have to process that for a while.
I know.
From your experience, what do you think is the purpose of the abductions? What do the visitors want here?
That's the whole thing. A lot of people don't understand, and we still don't get the true picture of it. But again, some of them think that these are future us. We've kind of maybe these technological us in the future have taken the emotions out of ourselves, and they were on to integrate their emotions and then come back into the earth realm, and these higher entities, they can't come into the 3D reality of the earth because the frequency is so different, and the energies are different. And so they have to hybridize them so that they can merge into our 3D level of consciousness and get the emotions back and tune back into ourselves. So that's one theory, and so yeah, they're looking at us. They want our DNA. It's the alien hybridization process that they go through, which I'm a part of, and which all the other people are a part of, and they're creating these hybrids. And a lot of times the mothers are taken up on the board the craft because their hybrids are more human oriented, and they will die because they don't have the human touch. And so they'll abduct the mothers to come up and hold the children so that they have that connection with their mother, and then they bring them back, and so that the young hybrid will live.
Okay, that's reasonable. As
Yeah.
a as a deputy director of MUFON out there in Nebraska, are you receiving? Do you process a lot of the stories that are sent your way?
Yeah, I'm the assistant state director for Nebraska, and I am part of the ERT, which is the Experiences Research Team, which is people who offer their experiences. Like I had this experience, the aliens came and they abducted me and I lost consciousness. That's the type of cases I do take, and I've had several of those here in the state, and I also have taken some other cases outside in other states that don't have the ERT representative. So yeah, I have a young man out in Salt Lake. I have a very strong connection with him, and he's even had the Men in Black come knocking at his door, and it says,
Really?
and he's been on the craft, and the same thing. He saw the craft. Next thing he knows, up on the craft, and this big tall woman comes in. She's very humanistic on top, but very grayish looking on the bottom. And she says, "You're all right." His name's James. He says, "You're all right, James. Everything's going fine. Don't have to fear." This guy's a Marine. He's a sharpshooter. He's a 10th degree black belt. He could knock these guys out if he wanted to, but he's scared to death of them. So I've told James, I said, this is real, because this is the first time he talked about him. He's 57 years old, and he talked to him, but his family has just told him, "You're hallucinating. You need to go see a doctor. You need to go see a psychiatrist. You're an idiot," And this is why a lot of people don't talk about it, because it's a subjugation of your family. Even my family look at me like, "Fred, we know you like UFOs and all that stuff, but don't talk to me about it. Don't even approach me." I mean, I've had guys in where I worked with alongside the United States Air Force, and I start talking about UFOs, and I have guys just get up and walk out of the room because they don't even. You said, "You're an idiot. We don't even want to listen to it," so they get up and leave the room. I mean, that's the subject matter is very taboo, for a lot of people. But as we talked about this today, look at the drones. The drones are every freaking where. And I just had a nice conversation. I said, there's a combination of the military and the combination of the ETs coming in, and the ETs are basically saying, "You had your chance. You had 70 years to come out with this, and you're done." So they're coming out really strong, and this drone thing is going to spin up to a point where everybody's going to believe there's a big shift. There's this big shift going on right now of consciousness that they're going to the ETs want us to understand that they're here and to move forward on a spiritual construct.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. That's been a
Yeah.
big issue. That's been a big issue out there in New Jersey,
Yeah.
and the government keeps on giving out these really weak excuses.
Right.
Like don't worry about it. They're no threat, but we don't know who they are, and we don't know what they're doing here. And
Right. Right.
we fly drones over the entire world, but when somebody flies a drone over us, we get really upset, huh?
Right. I mean, this gets really into, even into the quantum or in the spiritual construct, and that, here again, you have to understand our political and our government is being overtaken by some think, they're the ETs are related, and then they've given them the information. We've always had the king and queen, the pharaohs, and we have the Anunnaki that came over into Egypt, and who built the pyramids, who built the structures in Göbekli Tepe, and all this, and you got Graham Hancock saying, these monuments are 10 to 15,000 years prior, of our time and age. So this is way beyond any of the archaeologists have talked about, So that has to play into it, that there's been other human races and human races or beings, and they've just kind of like cascaded. So this is one, I think this human race is supposed to survive and continue on to a spiritual construct. But here again, I think the government, and then of course you get to get into the banksters and into the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and all these other people, the banksters, and now they're controlling. They created the Federal Reserve System where we are totally controlled, and I think the ETs are saying it's time to wake up, folks, and get rid of the bullies that are controlling our government and our military, and that's why. It just so happens that I don't want to say be political, but I think Trump and his team are going to come in and kind of open that paradigm up a little bit and show that we need to move forward, and the ETs are going to kind of help come in and show that a new awareness that you're not alone, and move forward in releasing the control of the banksters, or what I call the cabal, or the New World Order, or the deep state, whatever word you want to use. So that's where we're at. We're in this crossroads of moving to a higher state of awareness and of spirituality.
Do you think we're on the verge of of us, the United States government, releasing the information they have? We just had the big Senate hearings with Lou Elizondo said we have craft, we've reverse engineered.
David Grush, and all those guys, and Luis Elizondo, and all those guys are coming out. Commander Fravor, and the Tic Tacs, that happened back in December of 2027 when they came out and started talking about that. So that's been another 7 years that we've been just kind of piddling around, and then now we had a couple of congressional hearings lately here, and there's going to be more congressional hearings, and so they're pushing it, and yes, it is a movement towards awareness and awakening of that construct, and yes, I do believe that Trump's going to come in. He's going to unleash the JFK files, the 9/11 files, and then possibly even into disclosure, with the UFO disclosure. So that's going to happen. Absolutely.
That was the term I was looking for. It was disclosure. How do you think disclosure would affect our society? Do you think it might be overwhelming for parts of our society that they're just not ready for it? I think you and I would be okay with it. Like, okay, we got neighbors. Okay.
Yeah, I think some of us are more in tune to have read about the aliens and this whole construct. I don't think my family knows anything about the cabal. They said they think it's all politics. I said, no, it's not politics. It's really something more than just politics right now. That's just a kind of a structure by which it needs to be released. And I do believe that as time goes along, when you start unveiling what really happened to JFK really wanted to bring exactly what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to bring awareness to the deep state, what they're willing to do. They're controlling us. And he wanted to bring the UFO forward. You have James Forrestal again. He was his Kennedy's best buddy. And what happened to him? He wanted to open it up too, and of course he got taken up to the 6th floor of Bethesda Hospital. And right before his brother came in that morning, they tossed his ass out of the 6th floor and killed him. And so they wouldn't talk. Along with Marilyn Monroe and Kennedy, all the Kennedys, they wanted to go full fledged. So we're doing a repeat with Trump now, and that's what they're worried about with the drones and all this. That this is a military psyop, that they're trying to kill Trump, maybe come in with the drones, and create a big false flag. And that's what some people think is going to happen. But the ETs, I think, are the ones that are going to say, no, we're not doing that this time. And we're trying to move you forward past this construct and bring the wars down. And I think Trump is also wanting to solidify the wars and bring them in hostilities. Again, a lot of people think we need a near-death experience when we're going to wake all the other people up. For those people who are very religiously oriented and really structured, 3D level, it's going to be difficult for them, because it's going to, for those of us who are more spiritually oriented and more towards, higher constructs, and understand that the ETs are real, it'll come in easy. It's, yeah, come on, I've been wanting this for like 30 years.
I did a tarot reading early on, a couple of years ago. You remember hearing about the 1953 Washington UFO flap?
Yeah, that was back in 52. And there was July of
Yeah,
52, the crafts came over the DC area. There's like 4 or 5 of them that just hovered for a couple of days, and then disappeared. That's very true. And I just listened to a videotape of, I've always wanted to know, they're in eastern Wyoming and in Colorado. And they merged over, they were seeing all these drones even, and they merged over into western Nebraska. And the FBI and the CIA came out and they said, "What is this? What is it?" And they go, "Oh, we don't know." But this, ranchers are out there shooting at these things, and they're messing with our cows, and they're stampeding our cows. And said, "We had enough of this." And there was actually a policeman, he was a military, service guy, and he's the first one that's come up and he just brought up this talk with this one guy, and he says he talked about all the craft. He said, "I saw a craft. They're huge, this came in. I mean, it's a ball of light. That's the type of craft it was. It came in, it was right over his squad car, and it just shot out and zipped, and then they just played cat and mouse with him. He and about 3 other sheriffs are driving around trying to coordinate and to try to box this craft in. Well, the craft would just maneuver, and it says, we'll just play cat and mouse with them. So they played cat and mouse with this UFO for about 2 hours until it finally just took off, And why over Ord, Nebraska, which is just north of the Interstate 80, about just north of, I think, Grand Island, or in another little town out there. I can't think of it right now. So,
well, Nebraska's big. They got the Air Force Base out there near Omaha. I can't remember the name.
Offutt Air Force Base.
Offutt.
I worked the RC-135, which is the reconnaissance aircraft, and then I've gone around the world with this aircraft. And so, that's where I learned all the electronics and all the kind of the constructs of carrier waves and how intelligence is transferred through the carrier wave, just like the radio. We all think what's going on. So that helped out a lot with my understanding of how intelligence, infrared, you got your connections from point to point, things of that nature. So propagation delay when transmitting. Remember those old radio days, so you have to say over because you'd have this propagation delay, and then you talk on top of each other. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed my job with the RC. Yeah.
Why do you think the UFOs and visitors tend to hang around some of our secure bases, hang around Offutt, hang around on missile sites, hang around defense places, hang around our aircraft carriers when they're having ops off the coast? Why do they seem to be drawn to that?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the nuclear construct, and of course we talked about Maelstrom with Robert Salas. He was a officer in the Air Force and out Maelstrom Air Force Base, and they did that where they were bringing it down, and all of a sudden the thing just started going up on its own. They took control of it and they were bringing it down when they were just going to bring it up. They controlled it, and Salas says, well, all the guys up on the ground were saying, I saw all these UFOs above them, and then the same thing with Russia. In Russia, they were bringing their system down, their nukes down, and the aliens just did the opposite. They brought them back up, and the Russians were like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" And the thing went on, and then eventually stopped. It just to show the Russians and the Americans that the UFOs are in control of the aliens, are in control of the nukes, and it's time for you to wake up and work together. Yeah.
Well, I hope the adults are in control of the nukes. I'll tell you.
Well, that's the same thing with Randlesham. Randlesham with Commander, I think Major Holt. Holt and I'm trying to think of the 2 other guys, and John Peniston and those guys, and they saw the craft. It was right around Christmas time. They saw the craft. They went over and he actually touched it, and said all this information came in with like ones and zeros, and they it's like binary code that came through, and they wrote it down, and it was a message for them to understand that they were there and things of that nature. So that the Randlesham incident there in the UK was very, very a big case, just like the one in Roswell, of course, was one of our big ones, and then of course we have the one in Phoenix, the Phoenix Lights. We had that big V that came in. Thousands of people saw that, and then they just poo-pooed that, and they made a big mockery of that case, like that wasn't real. And now we know it's real, and it's all real,
That was a heck of a case. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
this craft was miles. It was a mile wide.
Absolutely. It was huge, and numerous people, I mean, thousands of people saw this craft. They have their own experience. And then I can't think of the governor's name, Seth Simonson, and then he came out and he made a big mockery. They had this alien come in and then play the part, and says, "Oh, we're just making a flick joke about this, and it's not anything to worry about. It's just a big boo-bah-boo." And the Air Force came out and said, "Oh, those are just flares coming down." And I said, "Well, then you'd see the smoke. The flares have smoke, and kind of like Roswell." And Roswell said, "Oh, yeah. There was. What about the alien beings?" I said, "Oh, yeah, well, those are dummies." Well, the dummies weren't until 5 years later, so the dummies weren't even there at that time. So, that just shoots holes in their stories, things of that nature.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get ready to wrap this up. We've been running about 30 minutes. It went fast.
Just 30 minutes?
I hope you'll be willing to come back and we can do this
Sure.
again. And we'll keep an eye on this New Jersey drone thing. Is
Yes.
this the first step in disclosure? What do you think?
I think so. This is the crossing point where the alien says, "Okay, we've had enough," and we're taking it over. And again, it's awareness. I mean, if the mass media is putting it on, then it's a big deal. It's something there that's going to be coming forward, and we're going to hear more about it. And we'll see what transpires with the inauguration of our new president.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me today
on
John's Tarot. Let's definitely do this again because there's going to be a lot more to talk about, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Thanks a lot, Fred. Have a great day.
Right. Take care.
There we go. Well, that was my interview with Fred Zewe. And Fred was a very interesting guest. He was very gracious in giving me some of his time. And I hope to get Fred again. I'm still in contact with him. We chat periodically. And I thought he was just a great guy. I had done readings in the past about what UFOs are doing here. And sometimes my readings in the past came back that, they like this planet. They would like to settle in here. But, we won't let the Hispanics in. The UFOs don't have a chance. They're not gonna be accepted. And then I had done a reading on the 1952 UFO flap, and that had to do with. This is just from my tarot readings. It had to do with at that period of time we were setting off nuclear bombs like they were firecrackers, atomic explosions all over, and they were trying to warn us to stop. And they're trying to warn us, don't listen to your leaders about this particular issue. And our leaders had just shut that down. They do not want that message to get out. And that's what I got from a tarot reading. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. It's just what I got from a tarot reading. And we'll do a tarot reading here today. I say I got one listener. If you'd like a free tarot reading, this is your chance to do it. This is not my regular time of day to do tarot readings. I usually come on Fridays. This is Thursday afternoon. And I just wanted to come out and get this interview in. I have something to do tomorrow at 10. And so I won't be able to do my regular timed, my regular time program. So I just thought I would put this one out there. So why don't I ask a quick question? Fred gave me his interpretation of the drones, of the New Jersey drones. And I want to ask, what was the purpose of the New Jersey drone flap? And if you would like to be interviewed on John's Tarot, absolutely contact me. You can send me an email to john@johnstarot.net, and we'll set up an interview. I think for next week, if I don't have any interviews set up for next week, I will just do a New Year's program, and we'll ask some questions about what to expect in the new year, and we'll run about a half an hour, and we'll see what we get. I think that's what I'll do next week. If I get an interview between now and then, we'll do the interview. But right now, I don't have anything scheduled. So let me go ahead, and I still got the UFO background. I hope you're enjoying that. And let's go ahead and shuffle the deck. My ability to read tarot is a gift, and it's an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. So, what was the purpose of the New Jersey drone flap? I've heard a lot of different theories on it. Fred offered some very good ones. They're trying to expose themselves or at least bring attention to themselves, that there's going to be some changes happening. Or I've heard other things that it was just a military. I've heard ones that this was that the UAPs were there and the UAPs were there, the UFOs were there, and the government was launching additional drones in order to disguise it. I don't really know what happened. Nobody really knows. I understand it's still going on, and this is December 26th. So, what was the purpose of the New Jersey drone flap? And we'll draw 3 cards, and I'll throw some runes on it, and we'll see what it comes up. My usual program time is Friday at 10 o'clock. I'll be here next Friday at 10 o'clock on Twitch. If you would like a free reading, that's where you'll find me. On Twitch, 10 o'clock on Fridays. If you have some general questions, you can contact me. You can leave a message for me on my YouTube page, or you can send me an email, and we'll answer the general questions. And I want to open this up to as many people as possible. Also, I want to, if you want me to mention your city when I do my intro and I play the sound effects, send me an email with your city, because my current podcast provider I don't know what cities. I know what countries, but I don't know what cities. So send me a little email just mentioning your city, and I'll mention your city in the opening, and I'll play a little sound effect for you. So what was the purpose of the drone flap in New Jersey? What was the purpose of the drone flap in New Jersey? On my first card, 4 of Swords. My second card, is the Sun. And my third card, the 7 of Swords. And I'm using the electronic deck. And I also throw some runes on there. Odin, Freya, please help guide this reading. I wonder how long I've been on, how much time I'm running. For the 4 of Swords, the Sun, and the 7 of Swords. What was the purpose of the New Jersey drone flap? And then my first rune is Ingwas. My second rune for the Sun. I have a new set of runes. I'm probably going to put them up for sale on the Facebook store. I think I'll start my store there. Second rune is Berkana. And my third rune for the 7 of Swords is Iwas. So the 4 of Swords, we have been asleep. we have been asleep in regards to this issue, and the purpose of this was that we're making an introduction to the UFOs, just like Fred said. The UFOs were making an introduction. We have been asleep. We've been thinking about this, but we've been asleep. The tombs of our ancestors. We've been taking a rest and not really looking at this, and we've been asleep and resting. But the purpose of it was to wake us up, and that the rune Ingwas according to Bloom, Ingwas has to do with the completion of beginnings. So that UFO flap was the completion of an opening round of UFO disclosures. So that was the purpose of it. And where we are now, the sun, the tarot card number 19, look, Mom, I've completed this. An obstacle has been overcome. And the obstacle has been overcome. New beginnings, big challenge. The challenge and new obstacles have been overcome by the UFOs. They did what they came to do. They drew attention to themselves. And Berkana, the rune has to do with. It has to do with. Really, it has to do with family. It has to do with nourishment that was given to us in order to nourish our curiosity. The bee kind of looks like two breasts. Nourishment from the UFOs, to bring us awareness. And then the Seven of Swords always has to do with this one has to do with the Seven of Swords has to do with our government trying to fool us. It has to do with deception. The government tried to deceive us a little bit. They probably did launch some UFOs in order to distract us from the true purpose of what was going on. But it's also the card of the winner. Somebody who has, when he sees advantages, he takes advantage of it. So some of us have seen the advantage to this. Some of us are winners, and we've taken advantage of this to move forward a little bit. And then the rune of Iwaz has to do with a purposeful movement, with dignity and grace. The UFOs are going to move forward with purposeful movement of unity and grace. So that is my little reading of the purpose of the New Jersey UFO drone flap. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I don't know if I got that one. We'll do it again.
Goodbye, Professor Marvel, and thanks a lot.
Well, it was my pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll tune in, and I hope you'll send your questions out to John at JohnsTarot.net. Go out and take a look at my webpage. I will work on the Facebook page. That one does, I didn't have a way to do it as John's Tarot. So it's there as John's Tarot. First name John, second name Tarot. But usually I go in just one word, John's Tarot, JohnsTarot.net. And that's where you'll find me. And I hope to find you. And I want you to be careful, be cool, be kind. And remember, have courage, find faith. And I'll see you all next week. And wish me luck on my little endeavor for tomorrow. I'm launching on a new level of inquiry. All right. Have fun. Bye-bye.